So, hi everybody and welcome back to the C++ tutorial series for absolute beginners. This is video 36 and we continue with our exercise. And I realized this solution, what comes next, is again a little bit complicated, but yeah, that happens. So, first of all, what problem we have? The problem is that it's not perfectly defined by me. So the next line says, I want to compare the scores to each line, but I never wrote how I compare this and what I do next. So these two things I have not done, and there was one line which was made no sense. I already deleted this one. It said I compare something. Okay, this was bad. Of course, there are many different solutions, and I try here to make a very easy one. And one note, this kind of stuff will happen in development often, right? So that all the plan, what you made here is not perfect. You will change it. That's normal. You will add something, you will delete something, you will change something. That's called development. That's why it's called also C++ development, or creating anything. It's a development because you develop it, you make it, you change, tinker it, you try to use it to try to make it. Okay, that's that. And very important is here one more thing, the communication skill later, because if you are working on your own, for example, I work here on my own, I make this exercise, I set it up, then most time you know what you want. For example, in my case, I want to print out on screen the winner with the points compared to the other, right? And I can make this like I want. I don't need to communicate with anyone. The problem is when I say this to another person, for example, in this video, all what I write here can be interpreted in a different way. And then we have a problem because you interpret it like, yeah, I can compare them and how I calculate them and how I print them out in another way than what I thought. And it must be not wrong, but you have to communicate then with the person which you are working with. For example, if you are working with a friend, then you have to, yeah, to come to one interpretation more or less, right? So that you know what the other want and what you want. In my case, this one is very difficult what I want. Let me show you what I want there. And if you have another solution, it's all right. The goal is this one here. Print on screen the winner with the points compared to the other. And here I present you one solution, what I'm going to do, which is I will compare now this line by line. That was our description. That's okay. But the winner, but how we calculate the winner and how we present the winner, I have not really formulated here out. It is too open. Everybody can interpret this in another way, and I make this now this way, which I'm going to show you. So first of all, I start here line by line. 43. Okay, he got 43 points. He 42 points. The winner is here. I take his points to our database list and his points also, but I give him 0. So he get here 43. He gets 0 here. Next line, he get 44 because he wins again, and he get again 0 in a new database list. In this line, he gets 0 and he get 54 in his database list. And you get the idea. I give this one here and so on. Then there are two questions. Why I make not, there are two very important questions. First of all, why not just use, why not just calculate who got the most wins? And then just, and then it's very easy to see who won, right? So for example, he won here, 1 win, 2 wins, 3 wins. Here he lost. 3 wins, 4 wins. He lost 6 wins. And then when then you can say, hey, he got already 6 wins here, right? And we have here 10 rounds, so probably he already won, right? That's not true. Think about it. Why is that not true? Perhaps it's true in this case, but in all cases it's not true. Why? Because the points can sometimes be very poorly. Let's say he got 6 wins, but all time he won with, let's say, like this one, 30 here, and the other guy won here, let's say, I don't know, something with 80. So 3 wins can be not even 180, for example. For example, if you won 3 times with 30, you have just 39. And he won 1 time with 80. This 1 win is much more than his 3 wins with 30, for example. That's why it's careful. This one works not. Yes, and you see this kind of definitions and this win conditions and then setting up. There are different ways. I make this for a certain reason, actually, which is the second point. We have not learned to extend arrays, and you can't extend an easy array and so on. You can, but it's very big work. But there are other structures which is much easier, which we have not learned so far. So let's get into it. Now I talked much. Let me show, and I think I have confused you more than whatever. And let's try a solution. So, okay, I have the 2 databases. I want to compare the scores each line. And now I have a problem. This description is not enough. I extend this description and save the scores of the win and save the scores in a new database. Okay. Then I should now write one more description what I may want, because what I explained to you, I should write here too, right? In a new database, and we can make this so. I want write the score of the winner in the database, and the other get 0 at the other gets 0 at this round. And yes, that was a bad formulation. I want to write the score of the winner in his database in a new database, and the other get 0 at this round also in a new database. This is a really scrap description, but I understand it. Write it like you understand it, right? Please write it not like me. Nobody will understand it, but whatever. Important is that you write it that you understand it, because you are developing your code, and doesn't matter if the other person is not understanding what you are writing. As long as you are writing this kind of stuff, nobody will see later. This kind of stuff you will delete. This is only your plan, your use case. It should make sense to you to accomplish this goal. That's it, not more. So let's get into it. Now I talked again too much. And let's go. So I want to compare the scores each line. So how I'm going to compare to this one? We learned comparison operators. This one we have only learned so far this 4, but the other ones are not so difficult too. And let's use them. And I have just to check. Let's see the conditions. I have to check if they are equal. I have to check if they are greater or less, because they could be equal too. And this condition we have never talked, right? So we have here, we found another problem here actually, while we are trying to solve this thing. So we have to add here again something, and then you can write something. Let's write, so if they are equal, I want give them the same points in their new databases, something like that. And now I said if they have, for example, two same numbers, let's say 43, 43, both get 43 in their database. So something like simple like that. Okay, I said that's okay for my case. So, and let's get back to our point. I want to compare the scores each line, and actually this one should be as an info here and then write it here, because this can happen when I compare it. So that makes no sense to write it down. I have to write it here. Okay, I got it, and then I write it here. I want to compare the scores each line. Okay, let's, and now we come to the code section. That was all planning and communicating, and now let's try to write this actually. So how we write this one? First of all, comparing is very easy. How we compare to each other? We use the variable name. In this case, we use this one. Let me show you this. Player database one, database for one, and then I have, because this one is an array, so we learned we need to use this array symbol. Actually, this is an operator, and this one is called access operator. I think I have not called it this way so far, but actually this one is an access operator for an array, and this time I want it for the slot 1. And careful, what we learned so far, slot 1 is 0, because an array starts with 0, right? This one was also a little bit tricky, and now I want to compare it with the other one. So, but we have here again a problem, right? We have the equal operator, or we have this less operator or greater operator, right? These are our conditions. It can be equal, it can be greater, and be less. So that will be a problem. And then we write here player this one, and the same goes here with this one for the first round. So this one, what I wrote here, will not work. Because we have to think a little bit more. And what we are going to do is we learned something like a for loop, so that we can go first of all through all the array. So let's use it. How we write a for loop again? For keyword, then we write here our round brackets, and in the round brackets we write our conditions, right? We have a start point. Okay, let's make this one. So we have 3 parts here. We have our start point. We create a new variable, and this variable is the only place where you can call a very short name. In our case, most time it is called I. This is our start variable. Here, my start point. I know this exactly. It starts with 0. Here, I write my endpoint, and my endpoint is less than 10, because as long I want 10 times, that it goes 10 times, and that's that. And then the last thing is it must be incremented so that it knows what happens. And we increment this one by 1. Let's increment it by 1, and this one is this 1 increment. We learned the shortcut. So let's go on. And then we learned an array has a body. Perfect. And now we have used this one anyhow here, right? So what we are doing is we take just here player number. Let's take this one, what we have here. Let's shift it top a little bit. And then, yeah, we have this one here. So we are almost there, but we have to do a little bit more here, right? So we have these operators. We have a problem. We have here 3 possible operators. How we can solve this 3 possible operators now? And we learned something. Operators, these are comparison operators, right? And to compare something, we learned a very nice structure, which is our if, right? If is all time something who takes a condition, and a condition is all time something a very good candidate for comparing something. Okay, let's use our if structure. If, and if starts with the if keyword. Here is the condition which I write. And now I have still a problem, because now I have to put this one, Control X, Control V, here in this one, right? And now I have to think, okay, I have this one so far, but now what I'm doing next, I have here still the 3. I can just use 1. I can't use 3, okay? That's normal. Okay, I start with equal. If this is equal, okay, if it's equal, what I'm going to do then, I open up the body, and careful, there are of course shortcuts. We learned something if got else, or sometimes shortcuts, or they are even writing it one line and so on. But just a reminder, in programming can this happen, but we as a starter, we use all time this body. It makes us life very, very easy and very visible. So let's continue. Okay, I have my first condition here. And what should happen then? We will program this in a moment. But first, I will cover all the conditions. And there is one more problem at this point. The access operator 0, because I want go to all. Right now, I would go, if this is looping all time, to 0 and then again 0. And what we learned is we can use this variable which we created here in this one. Instead of using 0, our first slot, we use here I. And very important is our I is starting 0. That's very important, because an array starts also with slot 0. That's why that's a very important reason to start here with 0, because normally you can start here with 1, 2. But because we are using an array, start here with 0. Very important. Then this array will be start here by 0, which is our first slot, which we want. And then we check our first condition, right? Because if this one is working now, this looping now, it will say, okay, I'm at 0. I check the player data, player name Q with 0. Okay. And then I will do something. But so far, perfect. But I want more. I have here the other conditions, right? We said I have this greater. What happens if greater, or what happens if less? And we learned we can add here to the if more conditions. And how we do this? There was something like else, but this one would not work if we just use else, because this one would jump to just what happens if this is not the case. So we make else if, right? And then when we write this one, we can write here again a condition. So we can copy this one. Careful about copy. What I said is you have to check all things if they are what you have to change. In our case, we have just to change this one. And what happens if it's later less? And now we write again our body. In our case, there we will write the code, and we have again one more condition, right? There is one more condition, else if. In this case, I will use again else if, not the else condition, because I want exactly know this one. Here in this case, you could write even else, because there is the last condition can be only not one of this one, but we write here still the other one. And here, very important, we write the bigger sign, and that's it. And here, of course, our body again. So we saved this so far, and what we are going to do now is we have not defined what it is doing and how. So we have just made a structure here, which means this one will go through this here, and then it will do something if these numbers are equal. It will do something if this player number 1 is less, and it will do something if the player number is bigger. So that's so the point here. And we have then to create this one. But before we create this one, let's check if all that what we made so far is working, right? We start this, we check this. If there is an error, perhaps we crapped anywhere. The problem is coder Superman. This one looks like it is all okay, but we have here no output again. That can be very tricky to check later, but let's assume this works. Of course, you can make some checkers here if you want, but I skip this. And this video is again a little bit too long. That's why I stop this and we continue in the next. See you there. Bye.